Hello and welcome to the FanTeam Golf DFS show. I'm Mark Ferguson, and as ever, I'm joined by my 7th and 8th favourite DFS experts, Nick Owen and Jack Humphrey.
Who's number 7? Who's number 8?
I was just
Thank you for looking after the show whilst I was away for a couple of weeks. First of all, I must say I'm so impressed you guys managed to talk for an hour about the Zurich Classic last week. That was
we blew
amazing.
Ourselves away there. We came off the show and we were like, wow, has that just happened?
You should be BAFTA nominated for that or something, I reckon.
A fantastic achievement, though. Fantastic contest. There was over 50 different winners of the 60 tickets that got given away for that. So that is just very impressive. And that was some creation, and it was a mental tournament.
Yeah, I went through, even though I wasn't here, I went through my normal process with that tournament. Recommended, I think, 4 players on Twitter, and none of them made the cut. So that's kind of shows how much I love that tournament. And then I was looking forward to getting back to a normal tournament this week with the Mexico Open. But alas, as we'll talk a little bit later, there's no stats, course history stats or anything this week, is there, Jack?
No, there's no course history stats. There's been withdrawals already. There's been 3 or 4 withdrawals we've seen. It's going to be a fun week. These are the weeks that I normally excel in, though. So I'm actually looking forward to it, and not as bad as the Corrales. Let's put it that way. It's still a nice tournament.
Yeah, well, let's see. When we start talking about season long and stuff, let's see if we all feel it's still a nice tournament. Because spoiler alert, I've currently only got 1 golfer playing in my season long teams before transfers. So. We shall see. Did either of you do well last week, though, on the Zurich with any, tickets or bets or anything?
I had 2 each-way bets that come in. So I had Billy Horschel and Sam Burns, and Will Zalatoris and David Riley at 33-1 on an each-way. So a couple of each-ways. And then I also done a double bet. This one will make you laugh. So I did a double bet of Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. Bang, that comes in. And then the double was also featuring Rasmus Højgaard on the DP tour, who was tied 3rd going into the back 9 in round 3. And he decides to have a blow-up round, 6 over par, and that was the end of that. But it was a nice sweat while it lasted.
I thought he was doing well. Wasn't he the first couple of rounds? Was he in the lead at some point?
Yeah, he was in the lead in the first couple of rounds. As I say, tied 3rd going into the back 9 of round 3. There was a massive weather delay in that tournament, unfortunately, which I think derailed him. But it is what it is. But it would have returned a very, very hefty profit had it landed.
Cool. So we might as well jump in, I guess, with a season-long talk. Obviously, we've all had a week off to recover. I've been waiting for this Mexico Open field to be announced, which it was last week, and we have some decisions to make, I think, don't we?
We do.
We'll get the team up. So as things stand, we've only got 3 playing, and it's not pretty reading.
But don't we have 2 transfers?
We do have 2 transfers, yep. So obviously we can get to 5 this week. It's whether we want to get to 5 or whether we go with a transfer and move to 4. Of the 3 that we've got at the moment, I wouldn't be captaining Ryan Armour or Smotherman. McDowell is automatically going to be our underdog unless we bring in someone cheaper. So, I think I'm not opposed to running with 4 this week because I think there'll be a lot of lineups that'll run with less than that. But I don't mind the 5. Obviously, with the PGA on the horizon as well. I think if we did go 5, though, and this isn't something I've discussed with you guys before the show, but there are some golfers that are guaranteed or confirmed for next week. But I think if we did 2 transfers here, I don't know if I'd maybe want to get John Rahm in. I don't know. Where do we take this week?
For me, I think, Jack, we're talking about this before, and I think this is going to be a high fantasy scoring event amongst the whole of the events. So for me, 5, I think, is better than 4.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, because if you to get 5 in for this, how you're doing that without scuppering yourself for the next few weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
And
I was going to say Tony Finau is the only one. Well, there's 2 that are playing this week and next week. Confirmed, definitely at the minute, is Finau and Patrick Reed. I've got a funny feeling Tony Finau is going to be owned about 80% in the season long this week. And he has been hitting the ball better, but I just don't know if I want to bring him in just because of those reasons of that high ownership.
Hmm.
And I don't want to bring Patrick Reed in. So it's
So we did have whilst
I
we're
don't
talking about this, we did have a question on Twitter today asking us about our favourite choice for 10 million and below in the season long.
For this week.
Yeah, I guess to bring him in this week. Obviously, got thinking about previous weeks as well. Yeah.
I mean, Gary Woodland.
That's the guy for me.
This week.
Yeah.
Gary Woodland's he's ranking number 1 in my model this week somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would be. Yeah, within that range, I think it's him. I do like Kevin Na, but Kevin Na's not played the 2 tournaments that come after this, so that would worry me a bit as well.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. Gary Woodland's very high in my model this week. If it wasn't just purely based on this week, I still think Shane Lowry presents the best value at 9.6 if you're looking for someone below 10. But you wouldn't necessarily be bringing in Shane Lowry this week because he isn't playing. So if it was for someone to pack out your lineup this week, then I would be going Gary Woodland, definitely.
Yeah, I agree on that. We haven't discussed this beforehand at all. And I think we've all come up with the same player. So there you go. So he's the best. So as I said on Twitter, we need to let everybody know the second best, and we keep Gary Woodland to ourselves. Yeah, I don't think it's in ULC even close.
No,
if you're balancing everything up.
Yeah, no, definitely not within that range.
No, yeah. I would go Gary Woodland or hold your transfer and bring Lowry in.
I'm in agreement with Mark that we do make 2 changes this week. Please don't make any changes. We say it every week. Just don't do it till Thursday. There's been 4 withdrawals already from this tournament. Why you're making changes at this stage, I do not know, because there's no price changes within this tournament. You only kill yourself by doing it, especially when there is a withdrawal down the line. I think we should bring in Gary Woodland as one. He has played the Wells Fargo before in the last 2 years. Obviously, we're not going to do this now, but we're just letting people know what we're going to do. I think Gary Woodland, we're all in agreement with that. And I do, unfortunately, think we might have to bring in Tony Finau just because we need that safety blanket of knowing that the guy, at least one of the guys we bring in, is definitely going to play next week.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've been saying, Jack, for a couple of weeks now that you don't really want Jordan Spieth in this team. Now might be an opportunity to bring him out because the jump to Tony Finau is only 0.1. And in all honesty, I don't think we want to be getting rid of Scheffler. I personally don't want to be getting rid of McIlroy. I mean, we've got Webb Simpson in there as well, but 11 to 11.7 is a bit more of a jump, and we've got the budget there for it. But then it's what move do we make for Gary Woodland, which would probably, so I guess Corey Connors would, or Webb Simpson would probably have to be the sacrifice there. But yeah, I'm not against maybe taking out Spieth for Finau. Would be my thoughts.
I think Corey Connors we should probably take out, to be honest, because he's not playing this week. He's not confirmed for next week, and he's not played the Byron Nelson in the last 2 years. So the only one out of the 3 he's played is the Wells Fargo in the last 2 years. So, but he's not confirmed for this year, and the only tournament he's playing down the road here is the PGA Championship. Webb Simpson is confirmed for the Wells Fargo. He's definitely playing there next week. Hasn't played the Byron Nelson, but is also confirmed for the PGA Championship. So I think we'd move on from Corey Connors here and Jordan Spieth. And I'm not against rostering Tony Finau for the next 2 weeks and then going back to Jordan Spieth again, because Jordan Spieth, after these next 2 weeks, plays the Byron Nelson, the PGA Championship, and the Charles Schwab all back to back, 3 weeks on the trot.
Yeah, no, I'm not against that. I know Spieth is one of the golfers we want to get out because of the fact that his form, like he's been outperforming his underlying stats, shall we say, his actual results. Like we've spoke about it on the pod before, but he's getting a lot of luck and a lot of rub of the green, which isn't sustainable long term. But yeah, I like those two moves: Spieth to Finau to cover some bases there, and Corey Connors to Woodland, which gives us 1.6. So we do have actually some flexibility. Yep. Depending on whether we make any moves next week or wait till the week after, but it gives us a bit of flexibility to make some changes, maybe even to one of our budget guys or something like that. But I think if we make those changes, I think, do we captain Tony Finau or do we captain Gary Woodland this week?
Gary Woodland can be very volatile at times. I mean, he should suit this course. We're going to get into this course in a bit, but he should suit this course this week. But I think you captain Tony Finau. Just, sometimes eating good chalk is a good thing in DFS, and I just think that might be the case this week with that. Like I say, Patrick Reed's the only other guy I know that's confirmed for next week as well. But I'd much prefer to play Tony Finau over Patrick Reed at the minute. Quite easily. So yeah, it's Tony. I think you have to captain Tony Finau within the lineup. And I know you laughed at Austin Smotherman there earlier, but he's actually won this event before in the past, Nick. The Mexico Open.
We're not going there.
No, it's another Smotherman week. It's another Smotherman week.
I'm just saying.
Spoiler alert! It's another Smotherman week.
If you wanted to get weird,
yeah,
that would be the way to do it.
We'll get to it later. We'll get to it later. It's stats off the chart, Nick. We'll get to it later.
My God.
Shall we?
To be fair, it's who are we voting for here then, Mark? Is it you going Smotherman?
Well, I think do you know what I think it comes down to? I think it comes down to what you want. If you're trying to move up the leaderboard or trying to sort of maintain your position, I think, like Nick says, not many people are going to have more than 4.
Yeah. So
we could be pretty safe with Finau. That's the safe bet. I think if you want to move up the board, Woodland and Smotherman are your 2 captain choices, but let's say they're volatile, very volatile.
That was a very politician answer, that Mark. Don't be diplomatic.
Tony Finau's your answer. I take it.
What position are we with this pod team?
Well, that's the other thing. We've gone up even further. We are now just over 50 places outside the cash spots now.
I think we're at 210, are we, or something like that?
Yeah, we have climbed and climbed in recent weeks with this team.
I would go Woodland then.
I'm going Finau.
Oh, that means that the deciding vote. I'm not even going to announce at this stage.
In fact, I'm going Smotherman.
Well, I can tell you I won't be doing Smotherman, so Smotherman won't be our captain this week.
Oh man,
it could be a coin toss for me. I think it's going to be between Finau and Woodland, but yeah, coin toss.
Can I just say something about the season long as well? It's just something to bear in mind. It's like 10 weeks away now, but the John Deere Classic, kind of mentioned there in the Barbasol is a good opportunity to wildcard if you haven't already. But that John Deere Classic will be the same week as this first Saudi Tour event. So I'd be very wary of rostering guys like Sergio Garcia, Adam Scott, just names that have been thrown out there that may be playing in Saudi. Interestingly, one of them names, Bubba Watson, is actually committed to the John Deere, which I was quite surprised about because he's one of the first names on that list for that Saudi Tour. But it's just something to monitor. I know it's like 10 weeks away, but I'm putting it out there now and getting it in your mind, getting you ready for it. But yeah, Austin Smotherman for this week.
Cool. It's that's interesting. How do players ever commit then drop out?
Yes.
They do. Okay, fine.
Yep.
Okay.
For
So
various reasons. Injuries, and I was saying to someone the other day, I was kind of hoping John Rahm would pull out this week just to put this field into absolute chaos.
Yeah. Can you imagine if he wasn't in there? I mean, before the pricing was done, it'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've kind of covered off that season-long stuff. As ever, if anyone wants any questions answered about that, like, contact us on Twitter or Discord or whatever, and we can deal with them. So moving on to the Mexico Open, Jack, I'd love you to give us all the history about the course and everything for the PGA Tour, but
I can't even pronounce the name of the course.
What's new there then?
Yeah,
well, there you go. So Mark, you give the name of the course, and I'll do everything else for you.
Oh, okay. Let me look it up again. let me spell it right. Where is it? Where's the name?
Can we just call it the Mexican? Yeah, Vedanta Velata Resort.
Velata, yeah, Vedanta Velata.
Vedanta Velata Resort. The yardage for this golf course is 7,456 yards. It's a par 71, and the greens are paspalum. It's the same green type that we saw at the Corrales. It's that tropical sort of linksy grass that you see on all these coastal golf courses around these tropical places in America and the Caribbean and places like that. Comp courses for this course, as I say, they don't really get a lot of stats, so we need to try and get as much information as we can. The comp courses I've got are TPC Louisiana, which we saw last week, the Corrales, which is my number one comp for this golf course, the TPC Craig Ranch, and Caves Valley. It's a Greg Norman design, and like most Greg Norman designs, it features a hell of a lot of bunkers, especially around the greens. They guard the greens, and these bunkers are extremely deep. So the golfers have to be a little bit wary there. This is normally a par 73. However, for the tournament this week, a few of the par 5s have been converted into par 4s. So we're going to see some par 4s this week that are over 500 yards long. So that makes it a par 71, as I said. For these golfers, there's a bit of water on this golf course. And like most golf courses, definitely plays harder if the wind gets up. But that is it, really. Surrounded by jungle in a few of the holes, and it's going to be an interesting week. It's very long. It's in a very, very long golf course. So I think when we get onto the stats, a lot of us will be focusing in on driving distance this week, won't we, boys?
Yeah, definitely. And one thing just to note with the weather and the wind, was reading an interview about one of the it was like a course director, but he was basically saying that the wind tends to pick up quite a bit in the afternoon. So golfers that play well in windy conditions will have a distinct advantage in the afternoon. Not something that you can impact once you have picked your lineup for the weekend, but if you're playing the individual contests, something just to bear in mind if you're looking at who's teeing off in the afternoon, that could be an edge in your lineup builds.
That's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, obviously it doesn't really matter on the main contest, does it? Because they all have to play an afternoon round anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's good. Should we talk about stats we're interested in first of all?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to, like, just a note, it is hard to sort of gauge any sort of stats and things for this sort of golf course because we have none. This tournament has never been played on the PGA Tour before. This tournament originated in 1944, actually. It has been played, but just never on the PGA Tour. So we've got no stats to work with. It's going to be a hard week, but I mean, driving distance for me is key just because how long it is. And strokes gained approach. I think you need to be good on the approach. Again, these greens are guarded by these deep bunkers, and you don't want to be finding them bunkers if you're in contention over the weekend.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, similar to driving distance and strokes gained approach, which is important every week. But yeah, again, more so this week, I suppose. Like you said, Jack, the greens are heavily guarded, so you want those accurate players. It's, with the good second shot. Strokes gained on ball striking is something that I've considered in my custom model this week as well. I think just because of how the course sets up, you want people that are finding greens, and that is normally a good stat to look at for that. And par 4 scoring, with some of those par 5s being converted into par 4s. I've just had a look at some of the scoring efficiencies on who gains strokes on par 4s there. So that's pretty much me this week. Like you said, it's a difficult one because we've not got the history there on this course from this event in the past. So it's I suppose it levels the playing field a little bit this week.
Definitely.
I'm the same as you guys, except one thing which I've got quite heavily weighted is birdie or better, just because this course is a converted holiday course, for want of a better phrase. So I'm expecting it to play easy. I'm expecting it to be a very low scoring game, therefore a high scoring fantasy game. And so I think birdie makers are better, are very important, and sand saves as well, because it's a Greg Norman course with lots of bunkers. But talking of stats, Jack, we have an amazing offer still going, don't we, with Fantasy National?
Yeah, we do. So you can get 20% off any of their packages over at Fantasy National Golf Club. Just head over there, fantasynational.com/FanTeam, and you will get 20% off any of their packages. We all use it, and it will be the stats that we use for the podcast tonight and every other show that we do going forward.
Yep. So are we ready to build a team, or look at lineups and start building some teams?
I don't think Nick's going to like my number 4 in my lineup.
As long as you're not captain him.
I think we might be picking on Nick a little bit today. Okay, so unsurprisingly, John Rahm is 23.2 million. He's 1.7 million more expensive than Tony Finau. That's because he's the best player in the world, statistically speaking, right now. And then there's 5 players above 20 million. I think we'll just quickly talk about those because some interesting options there. Tony Finau, Abraham Anser, Kevin Na, and Gary Woodland. Jack, is there any way you could not play John Rahm this week?
Definitely. I think he's an easy fade.
Interesting.
I think he's a very easy fade. Hasn't been playing very well. Worries me that he's losing strokes around the green still and on putting. It just worries the hell out of me. It's normally an area of his game he's very good at. I've seen no improvement there. I didn't see any improvement at the Masters. I think he's a really easy fade. And Gary Woodland is ranking number 1 in my model this week out of the guys you just mentioned in this top half here. And I will certainly have exposure to him just because I multi-enter. But he's a very, very volatile golfer, who can be excellent one week and then the next minute he can really, really let you down. He ranks number 1 in strokes gained and approach. This is over the last 24 rounds in my model. Driving distance, he's 8th at. Strokes gained tee to green, he's 5th. This is what I've got in mind. The sand saves is not great. He's 81st in that, but 6th on birdies as well. So he's ranking number 1. But I'm going to say it, and it might be an unpopular opinion. I'm going to fade all of these guys in the top here.
Ooh, that's interesting. So John Rahm, if I remember rightly, is the guy who got upset about the American Express turning into a putting contest.
Correct.
And there's a good chance that that's what this turns into as well, because of the easiness of the course and stuff. So interesting. Actually, in my model, 4 of my top 5 are in that up there. I think it's Kevin Na is the one I think he's 6th, and Woodland is up.
It's hard for me to fade Na as well because I've been on the Na train the last couple of weeks, but he's another golfer, a bit like Gary Woodland. I mean, you've seen it there. He started off the year, he was 20th at the Sony Open, and then he had 2 missed cuts. Obviously, he didn't play the Players' Championship. He had a good Masters, very good Masters, and 26th at the RPC Heritage, which I don't know if that was a letdown spot because that's kind of a place that I would have expected him to have done well, just because of the way his game is. So I think he's due a letdown spot, Kevin Na, and I think you'll see that this week. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to it, the top lot there, and I just think they're all very easy fades, and I think you can build a much more balanced lineup by going down. And I think the balanced approach this week will probably serve you better than going for one of them top guys.
I think there's lots of cheap options as well this week because of so many random players and stuff. Once you get to a certain price level, which we'll discuss a little bit later, they're all much of a muchness. And what about you, Nick? What's your view on this top 5?
Yeah, I think like John Rahm is number 1 in my model, but I do get the fade because one of the main advantages you can get in daily fantasy sport is if someone's going to be so highly owned, a way to sort of go against the grain, if you will, is to not play them. If that player doesn't have the weekend that everyone's expecting, and given his price as well this week, it is going to handcuff your lineups to an extent. You're going to need to go budget hunting, certainly in the bottom end of your lineup. I think you can definitely fade him this week. I suppose it is at your peril still, because it's John Rahm and he's, what is he now? Is he number 3 in the world? Number 2? Obviously, he's not number 1 anymore. But, like Jack said, his difficulties this season that he's had around the greens, in his short game, he's putting, I think back to that event. I can't remember where it was, but he had a putt from like a yard out and like left it short. And I know that happens like once every blue moon for professional golfers, but it just shows the inconsistencies in his game. That's usually a knocking putt. Anything within 6 foot is normally a pretty sort of like 95% gimme for most golfers that are on the tour. So, I think of the guys that are at 20 million and above, Gary Woodland is the one that is screaming out to me as well. Like Jack said, 8th in driving distance. He's actually ranked 2nd on strokes gained on par 4s as well. Couple of missed cuts, which were at the Masters and Players, but he has had some really impressive finishes this year as well. 5th at the Honda, and at the Arnold Palmer, 8th at the Valero. He had like a string of missed cuts, Gary Woodland, towards the end of last year, but he does seem to have found a little bit of form again. Something's obviously clicking in his game at the moment. So I think if I was to own anyone at the top here, I would be inclined to fade John Rahm as well and go with Gary Woodland. So yeah, I'm saying.
With the sort of pricing that John Rahm is, he's got to become top 3 easily to make it worthwhile in the tournament. The thing about Kevin Na, when you were saying about him, Jack, is those results he's been getting he won't deliver value at that price if he does the same. He's got to be like top 5, hasn't he, really, at that sort of price? And he hasn't got close to that yet. So it's interesting. And the fact that nobody's mentioned Dave Hansey yet, he's back in Mexico and stuff. It's like, you think he's going to get much ownership there?
I'd rather play Carlos Ortiz. Plays better in Mexico. Abraham Ancer obviously is the number 1 Mexican player in the field, but I think he kind of feels the pressure when he gets to these events. It's in his own country. He tries to do well, and I've gone back and done a little bit of research on the history of the 2 the 2 best Mexican golfers in the world, which is Abraham Ancer and Carlos Ortiz. And Carlos Ortiz always does better when he comes to these events. And it's by far Carlos Ortiz's most favourite grass to putt on and things like that as well. So, yeah, again, Ancer with the injury history at the minute, he's an easy fade for me.
Fair enough. So we haven't got not much love for the top of that lead, the top of the.
It don't get much better.
Yeah. Let's go through the rest of this page 1 here, because it's because of the weakness of this field and stuff. There's some names we haven't seen on page 1, I think, at all, or for a fair few weeks. We've got Patrick Reed, Sebastian Munoz, Karen Tringari, Chris Kirk, whose name always comes up on this pod, Aaron Wise, Cam Champ, Brendan Todd, Russell Knox, another favourite of the pod, Kevin Stroelman, Matt Jones, Doug Gibb, and Sahith Theegala. Nick, pick out some winners from that, will you?
Yeah, this is the area of the page where I do like more than that top of the board. Like Jack said, I think you can build a really balanced lineup this week. Chris Kirk is one that's standing out for me, third best ball striker in the field in terms of strokes gained there. He's ranked 10th on approach as well. Consistently good off the tee. Actually, in terms of strokes gained off the tee, he last lost strokes on that October of last year. So it shows how consistent Kirk's been off the tee this year, which again, I think it's not a key stat, but it does correlate to, things like driving and stuff is part of that stat. So Chris Kirk definitely is one that I've got my eye on. Old friend of the show as well, Russell Knox is up there in my model, as is Matt Jones. Sebastian Munoz is another. I think this part of the pricing here, I think you could really balance your lineup out and pick quite a few of these, to be fair. But Chris Kirk is probably the one that I've got my eye on the most of them all.
Yeah, I wonder whether Russell Knox 18 million. We've been playing around 15, and any kind of can hit value at these, these sort of mid-30s and stuff, and then he's had that 6th, obviously. But at 18, you kind of want more from him, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, Russell Knox, you definitely, at that price, you definitely want more from him. Similar to Nick, similar names. Munoz is standing out. He's 3rd in my model, actually. Strokes gained on approach, he's 8th in the field. Strokes gained tee to green, he's 3rd on that. So he's popping within the model. Chris Kirk is 5th within my model. There's someone sandwiched in the middle in the minute we'll get to. Them two.
We all know who it is.
Yeah, you do. So yeah, they're the two guys that stand out in this for me. Matt Jones is 7th in my model as well, like Nick said. Again, this is where I'm saying I think you can build a much better balanced approach this week. I just think it'll serve you better. I'm not advocating this at all, but Cameron Champ can get hot, and he is a bomber, and I mean an absolute bomber off the tee. Really, really impressed with what I saw from him at the Masters. He come 10th in the end. Obviously, he's got 2 missed cuts before that, but he much like Gary Woodland, he's one of them players. He can bomb it off the tee, but he can be so volatile if you play him in golf. You just need to hit him on the right week. I will have some exposure to him. Probably I'll limit it to about 5%. So it'd be in a couple of my lineups, but this course would set up perfectly for his game. And like I say, he can get hot. So he's someone I could see winning, but I could also see missing the cut. He's just one of them players. That's what he's like. Again, he's not nowhere near the top of my model. He's like 80th in my model. So this is just not even a stats play. This is just knowing golf and seeing what I've seen in the past with him. I backed him at the 3M Open. 3M Open could be similar to this, similar sort of design, golf course, bit of water in play, a lot of bunkers and etc. He won there, so you need to be long. You need to be long off the tee there as well. And he ended up winning there, so that's what I'm saying with him. He can get hot or cold, and he's just one of them players I could actually see winning this week. Very expensive, but that's the week we got this week, unfortunately.
He's a great DFS play, and if you look at his career, he's kind of did this a little bit of the Masters. He's got quite a lot of times where he'll come out of nowhere. He will have 2 or 3 missed cuts, and then suddenly he'll be top 5 or top 10 or win. He's not, he's not one of those players that you need necessarily the form from him to have his spike week. And like you say, in theory, this course sets up perfectly for him. He's actually my model. I think he's 11th in my model. So I definitely have some exposure to him. I do like him there. I think Aaron. I just want to make a quick shout out for Aaron Wise here as well. I think his approach and off the tee, which we're generally weighting as ball strike, which is what we call ball striking, which we're thinking is more important than most of the other stats at the moment. Here, he's generally been pretty good the last few tournaments and stuff. So, there's a possibility that the putting here will level out a bit, as in the bad putters won't lose so much as they do normally and stuff. So, yeah, it's a I just wanted to make a shout out here, but otherwise, all the other names are all the same as you guys. Unsurprisingly, we've been doing this so much now. I think we can kind of pick each other's picks each week.
I was just going to say before we do, Kevin Stroelman. I know Mr. Cut the Heritage, but he come 18th at the Valero Texas Open, and the Valero Texas Open is a Greg Norman design golf course as well. So there's that, and he obviously comes 7th at the Valspar the week before that. So he's another one that can bomb it off the tee as well. So probably someone that I would have, again, I'll limit the exposure down to about 5% across my lineups, but I will have some exposure to him.
He's another one of those all or nothing players as well, isn't he?
Yep.
Nick, you happy for us to move on?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we've mentioned most of the names that I had on my list on this page. So, yeah.
There you go. On to page 2. Carlos Ortiz, who Jack's already talked about a little bit more. I tell you what, I'm not going to go through every name on here because most of them are players we wouldn't normally look at. But now let's go down as far as Ramey at the moment, because I don't know about Chad Ramey. He won in Punta Cana, which is a comparable course.
Yes.
So 15.8, I think he's pretty good value.
I like both the players there. Hubbard as well, Max Hubbard, sorry. Mark Hubbard, sorry. Missed a cut at the Corrales, but 15th at the Honda. Again, just between not someone that's popping on my stats. No one really is out of this top lot here, apart from Lanto Griffin. But just from what I've seen in the past with Hubbard on sort of these types of golf courses, I might have a bit of exposure to him as well.
This is kind of a little bit of a dead area for me as well. What about you, Nick? You got any interest in anybody from Ramey and above?
Yeah, you just mentioned Lanto Griffin there, Jack. He has had some rough form of late. He has had quite a few missed cuts. He did start the season quite consistently, but he is still ranked 15th in this field on approach, 20th in ball striking, and gaining strokes with the putter as well, which is always nice to see. It does give you a little bit of faith there. CT Pan is another one as well for me. He's not particularly a fantastic driver of the ball in terms of distance, but every other key stat I'm looking at this week, he ranks top 20 in. So it is hard to ignore him. He's only missed the cut once since the Phoenix Open, which I think was at the Players as well. Another one that's gained strokes quite consistently on his approach and around the greens as well, which we've mentioned is, especially with these bunkers this week, if you're not actually on the green, you want to be a good around the green kind of player. So yeah, he's another one of those players, CT Pan, where his putting does unfortunately let him down, but that might be something that, as we said, is a little bit more forgiving this week. So yeah, CT Pan, Lanto Griffin are my two.
Yeah, I'm not going to have much exposure to anybody here. I'm surprised that Lanto Griffin's so high in all our models when you look at his form.
He's 9th in my model. In this Charles Howe the third as well. He's 6th in my model this week. So I'll be going back there, I think, with Charles Howe. I've got the same sort of stats as you with CT Pan there, Nick. He's 12th in my model, but he's green across the board. Not so much on the driving distance, but he's green everywhere else. It's a weird week.
So let's talking of weird weeks. Let's get to it. Jack, let's convince Nick about Austin Smotherman.
Right, he's number 4. Number 4 in my model this week. Strokes gained approach, he's 3rd in this field over the last 24 rounds. Driving distance, he's 15th. Strokes gained tee to green, he's 14th. The only place he's losing strokes is in the bunkers. So as long as he avoids the bunkers, Nick, he's going to be the play this week. And he's won here before, Nick.
Yeah, I will let you in on a little secret. He is actually 5th in my model. I just don't advocate captain him in season long. That is my only issue. I'm just not going to be captain him in any season long team. But I will have exposure, absolutely. He's 95th in strokes gained on par 4s. So whether that is of any consideration to anyone, I know it is a stat that I mentioned, but everything else, yeah, I agree. There is green across the board for him this week, and when someone comes out ranked 5th in your model, it is hard to ignore them up there. So dare say I will have some ownership there, but as for putting the armband on him in the season long, that is going to be a hard pass.
So we didn't have to do too much convincing there, Nick, in reality.
No, not too.
No. So there are other players in this range as well. So I suppose we should talk about them. I definitely have some interest in Wyndham Clark down here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do as well, Nick.
Yeah, it's simply. He's not really popping anywhere as no one is really other than John Rahm, but he ranks 2nd in driving distance. So on a course this long, it's again you can't really ignore that.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, so across the board, is bang average.
Yeah, I mean you can because he's red in a lot of places, so you can ignore that driving. Cameron Champ's number 1. You can certainly maybe you just build one of them all or nothing lineups and just put Cameron Champ, Wyndham Clark in it, Kevin Stroelman, just build one of them all or nothing lineups like that.
Yeah, he can get streaky, Wyndham Clark, but in this field at that sort of price, you've got to hang your hat on something, and the driving distance was it for us, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing is, as well, is a comparable course, like we said, was the Corrales, and he did finish 22nd there. In most tournaments, he has entered dating back to sort of like around like beginning of October time last year. He has actually gained strokes on his putting in almost every event as well. The biggest anomaly in his game is that he loses strokes practically every single week around the green. So if he's landing it on the greens this week, he should hopefully be fine. If he isn't, it could be another bad week.
I don't mind Pat Perez down there actually either. I think he's just one of them safe plays like that. It's just like a bit like Adam Scott. We say with Adam Scott, he's just one of them sort of players. Not really popping within the model, but I don't mind him as a safe option this week.
Yeah. So I think we've probably done that page now. So on to page 3.
This is where it really gets good.
Well, I'll let you lead it. I'm not going to go through all the names on here because there's so many players who you would never pick normally. But if you're going to play your John Rahms and stuff, you're going to have to come down here. So
I think Adam Svensson probably is one that sort of stands out to me down here. Again, this is now I'm not even looking at stats because I'm just going off of what I've seen with these guys. He come 26th for the Heritage, played quite well at the Heritage. I believe he was actually in contention at one point there at the Heritage, and then sort of fell away. So he would be one that I'd target. Smalley's been off colour, hasn't he? I mean, he comes 2nd at the Corrales. So if you want to bring the course comps into it, is he an auto peak down here? Like he's got 2 missed cuts after that, but he had the 2nd at the Corrales. So maybe you go there. I don't know. This is a brutal area, isn't it? It's not. Joseph Bramlett's actually 13th in my model this week down here. He's 13th, 28th in strokes gained approach, 5th on the driving distance, 26th in tee to green, 61st in sand save. So he's down there. Don't mind him, but yeah, it's hard. There's not a lot down here I like.
Come on, Nick, convince us of somebody good down here.
No, I mean, I had Joseph Bramlett on my list as well. 5th in driving distance, 8th in ball striking, like you said, Jack. His highest finish was a 20th at the Sony. I wrote down the word inconsistent next to him because when you look, it's like since the Sony, I mean, he had 3 made cuts, but then since then a miscut at Pebble, Phoenix and Puerto Rico, he made the cut at both of those events, but then miscut at the Players, made the cut at Valsburn, miscut at Valero. It's just a little bit like this. That's the thing. But you're going to get that at this, this kind of level on the tour. Normally someone like Joseph Bramlett's not going to be on page 3 of an event. This week being a bit of an outlier, but Nick Taylor was another one I had on my list as well. 7th in strokes gained approach, 25th at the Corrales as well. he has had back-to-back missed cuts, so he is a little bit out of form. But he's played some decent golf this year as well. Had some decent finishes, Nick Taylor. So, if you're looking for someone fairly cheap, if you are building a bit of a balanced lineup, I don't think that's a bad underdog to have. Kitayama, another one, but his form again is just a bit all over the show. A lot of miscuts.
I think Tyler Duncan, I definitely got some interest in down here. He's 6th in weighted stroke gains total over the last 20 rounds. And at this sort of price, that's the sort of thing you're looking at. And the other name, and look, he's got some pretty good form last 3 out of 4 times he's been out, the 12th, the 25th, and the 28th. So I feel like he's an interesting one. Emiliano Grillo is an interesting play to me because he's in terrible form. And you never pick him based on these sorts of things, on his stats and his form. However, historically, he's been around a fair bit. He does very well on these sorts of courses. So if ever was going to be a player got right out of nowhere, it'll be him, I think. Do you want to go down to another page before we start building some lineups?
There's just one more on this page that I just want to mention right down the bottom there, Peter Euline. He's 8th in my model this week, and that might be the driving distance. He's 3rd in that over the last 24 rounds. He played the Corrales. He come 36th there, 69th at the Valero Texas Open. That's the last time we've seen him. He has had a 2nd place finish on the Corn Ferry Tour since. He is a Corn Ferry Tour graduate. And it's important to know that if these guys come over and win on the PGA Tour, then they get their PGA Tour card for 2 years, I believe, 2 years exemption. So if he was to win this week, for example, he'd be a PGA Tour player for the next 2 years. So it's quite a big deal for someone like him. Again, as I say, he's popping within my model a little bit. He's 8th there. He's green across the board, really. There's nothing not to like about him. So yeah, I don't. If you're going to get paying hard, if you're going to pay up for like John Rahm, then I think you could do a lot worse than Peter Euline, and this course should suit him. He's a bomber off the tee, an absolute bomber. And the only thing that you would worry about is he was like 36th at the Corrales. It just wasn't great. He did play the Zurich event last week. I can't actually remember if he made the cut or not. I didn't watch much of it, but I can't remember if his team made the cut. But yeah, he's someone I don't mind down there.
Fine. Do you guys, either of you got any interest in anybody below here? Maybe standing out for any of you?
Not necessarily like interest as such, but again, if you're looking to try and sort of pack out your lineups, or you're looking for a cheaper underdog on page 4, I did notice Ryan Armour's name on there.
Yeah, you just
got in there quick. Ryan Armour, Vaughn Taylor was another one. Chase Seifert was down there as well, I think, on that page. But I don't think because of the pricing this week, I don't think you necessarily need to drop that low. I think you can build a balanced lineup without venturing much further than page 3, to be fair.
What about Graham McDowell? Interested? Been playing well, making cuts recently. At the 21st at the Heritage, come 50th at the Corrales. Don't know. Again, if you was going to play someone like Graham McDowell, I don't think it's not an exciting play at all. But I think there's a good chance that he would make the cut.
Yeah. I think he's definitely on his approach game, and he doesn't rank badly on par fours either. Obviously, he's not a massive hitter at this stage in his career, but yeah, I'm not against it. Not against it because of his iron play.
Luke Donald, another one, made the last 3 tournaments he's played, last 3 cuts. Sorry, I'm just reading off names now. Just your boys down there, Mark, Hank the Tank.
He didn't show up on my model. I'm just trying to look for him now. I'm still scrolling. And
your boys down there as well, Camilo Villegas.
I noticed that. Yeah. I wondered how long it would be before Camilo Villegas was brought up. Who had 50 minutes in on the sweepstake.
So I think what we'll do is we'll build some lineups now. Something we've added this week is we're going to build I'm not sure if we've actually agreed it this way or not. I can't remember. We had this discussion before we came on air. I think we're going to build our usual 3 lineups. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jack. We're going to build our usual 3 lineups. We're then going to put them to the vote on Discord or Twitter or something. And then whichever one people vote for will be our charity lineup, with all the winnings going to charity.
Yep.
I think I've got that right, haven't I, Jack?
You have. I think we'll lock that, 10 o'clock Thursday morning? So Mark will enter that team by 10 o'clock Thursday morning. We'll put the poll up straight away after this show. And please get voting. Get on the FanTeam Discord and please vote. But yeah, we'll build 3 lineups and choose what one you like.
So we'll clearly have to build a stars and scrubs and a balanced.
Mm-hmm.
So should we start with our stars and scrubs? Should we do a John Rahm lineup, do you think? Or
yeah, do a John Rahm lineup.
Let's do a John Rahm lineup. So we're going to need to go down to page 3, probably 2 or 3 for that, aren't we?
I think you go down to page 4 and just put Ryan Armour in.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
It's going to be our underdog. No, that's right. Now we've got over just under 16 million per player. So actually, we're not in such a bad situation. Chris is here. So surely Austin's got to go in there.
Yes. I'm going to enter this team as well. And he's going to get captained on it.
Set him as captain. And should we just stop the pod there, Jack? See you next week.
This is a stars and scrubs, so I'd like to try and get back on page 1 and then maybe go back to page 3. So should we go to page 1 now and then see what?
Yeah, we can get rid of Austin if he's too balanced. What about Gary Woodland? Or you want to? Is that too high? Do you think?
I think that might be a little bit too high. What about Chris Kirk?
Okay, Chris Kirk. Okay, it leaves us 14.1 on average. So we're having to come down here somewhere. If you put Graham McDowell in, he's a cut maker, but we're still stuck on another 14.1.
Yeah, maybe take out Smotherman then.
Yeah, he's too balanced, isn't he?
Yeah, Nick would be happy as well.
I wasn't against him being in there.
Just over 4. So we're in this sort of 14s area now. This low 14s.
Peter Euline?
Yep. So I think Tyler Duncan's really consistent. I just think he's good value this week.
Yeah, go with that.
That leaves us a 15.4. Oh.
So we can get back on page 2 at the bottom.
So yeah. That's not the best, is it? What about top of page 3? What about Svensson?
Svensson, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, Svensson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that would have a captain of Rahm, I'm presuming.
Well, we can't.
Yeah, not Armour.
So there you go. That's a pretty good looking lineup to me.
It's a stars and scrubs one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a stars and scrubs.
Is there any way we could take out Svensson? No, not Svensson. Take out Kirk. Can we get up to Gary Woodland? I don't know what we.
No, just missing out.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but we could drop. Can we drop down from Svensson?
We could do.
Bramlett, you all like Bramlett.
Yeah, Bramlett. Put Bramlett in.
Let's get rid of Svensson.
I've really mucked it up now. Sorry.
Let's have a look. What have I done? I've got to get rid of Kirk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it. Gary Woodland.
Gary Woodland, John Rahm.
That's a better. Yep. Then it's Bramlett and Duncan, Euline and Armour. You happy with that, Nick?
Yeah, don't mind that. I think you'd have to enter it twice and captain Rahm in one and Woodland in the other.
That's a proper stars and scrubs lineup though, because you've got 2 of them top 5 there. So
yeah, definitely.
I like that.
Definitely. So, have you got that one down, Jack?
Yes, I've got it.
Good. So let's clear that and let's start our balanced lineup. Where do we want to go there? I think Austin's got to go in on his balanced lineup. Just has to happen. So
Did we need
That's
to
how
start that?
that's
Is that where the balance lineup needed to start? Get back on page 1.
Okay. Well, we just know he's going to end up in there.
Well, yeah,
Chris Kirk.
inevitably.
Chris
Yeah.
Kirk feels very balanced, doesn't he?
Yeah, maybe it's been Chris Kirk. So it's still got 16, just over 16.
Lanto?
I think I would prefer Charles Howe, but yeah, you can go Lanto if you want. It's up to you.
Well, yeah, to put both of them in, to be honest.
Yeah,
Because it's just over, that's just under, so we can still be down here, like a
Pat
Wyndham
Perez.
Clark. Or,
Didn't mind Pat Perez, did I?
what about, okay, then we can go all the
Pat
way
Perez.
up to
CT Pan?
CT Pan.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few options we had there on that one. That would be a Kirk captain team, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would, Mark.
Yes.
No further thoughts required on that one.
I would captain Smotherman in that. Or is there any way you can get off Pat Perez and get up someone else and have Smotherman as the underdog? That would be great.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
I'm really annoying you tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
It's all right.
He's like, I wish I didn't come back.
No, I think it's Griffin and Howe. We'd have to drop one of them as well.
Maybe move off of. I don't mind Lahiri. We didn't really talk about him, but
If I get rid of Griffin, because he's the more expensive out of those two. Lahiri, and then now you've got Ramey, Hubbard, or Moore, and Smotherman. Then is your underdog, which I think
I'd go with Ramey.
Yep, I would too. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I would as well. Yeah.
And look at that. Smotherman is the underdog.
I think we've cracked it here.
Nick is cursing us right now.
I mean, the one thing I am thankful is if he is the underdog, he can't be captained. So there is that silver lining and all that.
Can we try and make him captain? Can we try and make him captain as well?
Who becomes our underdog? Then?
Oh, have you seen what happens if you do? Oh, okay. I did not know that. That is something new on me. Did not know that happened.
So Chad Ramey becomes him. Okay. Yeah, I think in all reality, me and Jack may well play that lineup with Smotherman as a captain.
I will definitely play that lineup with Smotherman.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the second choice of our for our charity teams. So let's build one more. How are we going to go with this?
Should we go Gary Woodland captain? I know he was in the Rahm build, but without Rahm. Maybe try a Gary Woodland build without Rahm.
Yeah. We like Woodland, don't we? What about a real volatile team? What about a volatile team like
Cameron Champton?
Champ. Who else were we talking about in terms of volatility?
Wyndham Clark.
Yes.
Yeah. There he is. So now we're down to just over 15 per player.
Smalley, maybe?
Yeah, he will. He's got that sort of Punta Cana.
He's 14.8, so we could go Smalley and work our way back up slightly.
15.3 each. So that puts us down at Perez again, possibly.
Unless we go lower.
Come down a little bit lower. Yeah.
We could put
Grillo, maybe?
Yeah.
Grillo was a real more bust
Grillo.
play, isn't he?
And then we got 16.
Oh God.
Just stick CT Pan.
Put Pan back in.
Oh, thank God. I did not think you were going to say that.
Austin Smotherman. Again.
He does fit the bill, Smotherman, though, in terms of volatility.
He does, and that's exactly why I thought he was going to get suggested.
But there you go. That's our third team.
I think that's probably my favourite one.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think it's boom or bust, isn't it? It's got potential, that team.
It's very boom or bust. It's
either
going to take it all down, or it's going to have about 5 of them miss the cut on it.
I think it'll be fairly low owned.
I think Cameron Champ will be fairly low owned. Yeah. definitely.
Yeah, so maybe I maybe enter it twice with Champ as a captain as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great.
I
Well,
will.
that's it.
Sorry, I was going to say I will put them on Discord, and then the fan base on there can choose which one of them lineups we enter as the charity team this week.
Yeah, great. Well, that's been a very quick hour. It's so nice to be back in the swing of it. Jack, anything else you want to say before we go to remind us about?
No, it's good to have you back, Mark. You are the glue that keeps us together. I do go off course. I'm really sorry about these things, but it's kind of what I do. But it's good to have you back, and I hope you enjoyed your holiday. I hope to see some of the pictures soon of you on the beach. There we go.
We've been missing our caddy, haven't we? We have.
Definitely have.
Anyway, Nick, as ever, you need to sign us off with some words of wisdom, which are slightly less rude.
All right, yeah. We'll go with drivers for sure and Austin Smotherman for Doe.
Yes.
That is the one. See you next week.
See you next week.
See you next week.